Good morning. Welcome back to the Alabama Nature Center. Miss Kristen's been telling you guys all about signs of spring, and we saw our first hummingbird yesterday, so we thought we'd tell you a little bit about what's going on with hummingbirds this time of year. Hummingbirds are primarily nectar feeders, so they have to follow the flowers that they get nectar from. So in the wintertime, they fly way down south to Mexico and Central America and places like that. They migrate up to 2,000 miles, which is amazing for this one's actually bigger than a real one. I've got my little ruby-throated hummingbird, but they can fly so far, and they have to go there because the flowers are still blooming down where it's warm, but when things start warming back up in our area, the scouts come out first, which is what we've probably seen on our feeder that you see back there behind it. We actually saw it just a minute ago. So maybe if you watch kind of back behind me, we're going to try not to get too close so that maybe it'll come back and visit while we're talking about hummingbirds. But then they fly back, and North America and even Canada, those are the places where hummingbirds breed and have their babies. They make their nest, and it's crazy. They can actually, it's between March and July is when the female hummingbirds, they build their nest, and they're little tiny. They make their nest out of spider web, the silk from spider webs, and usually they'll put lichen on the outside of it. Little tiny 2 eggs is their usual clutch size, 2 little white eggs, the size of little white jelly beans. And that whole process from building the nest until the baby hummingbirds get fully feathered and fledge and fly away from the nest only takes about 6 weeks. And they can do that up to 3 different times between March and July. They can have 3 broods of baby hummingbirds, and they do that where it's nice and warm when the flowers start blooming. You've probably noticed flowers in your yard and all starting to bloom, so that's why they're starting to come back. Just the scouts at this point. But before too long, you'll be seeing more and more. If you are interested in having hummingbirds in your yard, you can put up a feeder, like you see back here behind me. They really like the color red. They don't have a good sense of smell, but their color vision is really good. So you can actually make your own sugar water to go into the hummingbird feeders. That red stuff they sell at the store is not very good for them. So you can do it yourself. Just warm up water and mix in sugar. It's 4 parts water to 1 part sugar. So 4 cups of water, 1 cup of sugar, and let that cool down a little bit. Fill your hummingbird feeder up, and it won't be long before you have hummingbirds in your yard. Another thing you can do is plant native flowers, especially red tube-shaped flowers like trumpet vine and different things like that. Anything bright colored though, they really like bright tube-shaped flowers. The more the merrier, so they'll come visit your yard looking for those bright colors. They'll also eat insects and spiders and flies and things like that, but their primary food source is nectar, and they drink a lot of nectar because their heart rate's like 200 beats a minute, so it's a whole lot faster than ours, so they have to constantly be taking in this nectar so that they can keep their energy up. At night, obviously, they're not feeding, so they go into this state of torpor, which is kind of like everything slows way down and they kind of rest since they're not feeding. They don't have any energy for all their body processes to be going like they normally would be during the day. So they kind of calm way down and just kind of rest at night. And so they will visit our feeders and all of our flowers all the way until it starts cooling down again and the flowers are gone, and then they're going to migrate that 2,000 miles again back to Mexico and Central America where their wintering grounds are. So it's really amazing that such a small little animal, and they tend to migrate, they're solitary migrators. They don't migrate in big flocks. They can go like 500 miles at a time without stopping all the way down to Mexico and Central America. So really amazing little critters. They're the only birds that can fly backwards. They can hover. They can fly pretty much any direction, which is very unusual. And we have this this one is, the ruby-throated hummingbird is the only one that actually breeds and nests in eastern North America. So in Alabama, you might have a few pass through, but this is the only one that actually stays and builds nests. The male looks kind of like this. It has a red throat and dark green back, very iridescent, shiny. The female doesn't have that red throat patch. It looks slightly lighter green back, but they're, like I said, they're actually more like 3 or 4 inches. They're smaller than my puppet here. But so you might could possibly see some others moving through, but these would be the ones that are going to spend all the time at your hummingbird feeders. And I'll go ahead and tell you from experience, you can't ever have enough. I put up 7 or 8 at my house. I have to refill them constantly because they empty them out quickly. And it's very important that if you do have hummingbird feeders, just like any other bird feeders at your house, that you make sure to clean them really well, to make sure, because since that sugar water's in there, it'll grow mildew and mold and things like that. You don't want any of that making your hummingbird sick. So when you take them down and to refill them, just give them a good scrub and leave them out until it gets cold and they all migrate away. But do we have any questions, Miss Kristen? Anything I haven't covered? I could talk about hummingbirds all day. They're my favorite, but but yeah. So this is the only one you're gonna most likely gonna be seeing. But there's like over 300 different kinds of hummingbirds that live in the entire world. Somehow we just managed to get the one that comes to visit us regularly. But I think Miss Kristen's watching real hard to see if one's coming back there. There's a dragonfly, not the hummingbird. Yes. Well, enjoy. Put you out some feeders. Plant you some native red, bright colored, tube-shaped flowers, and hopefully you'll have some hummingbirds come visit your yard. I know we enjoy having them here at the Alabama Nature Center. Oh, there's our little friend. A little sneak peek. Oh, yes. All right. See y'all next time.